What's up, everyone? Now today we have a very interesting topic to talk about, and that's the Sega Saturn. Now this was Sega's 5th generation 32-bit gaming console that competed alongside of the PlayStation 1 and the Nintendo 64. And while it came in last in terms of sales during the generation, the Saturn itself is one gem of a video game console. It's a 2D powerhouse, vastly superior to that of the PlayStation 1, and the Saturn was capable of bringing home near-arcade quality ports of many fighting games, which that'll intrigue a lot of you. And even though it was designed for 2D, Sega added a 3D processor late in development to compete more with the PlayStation due to PlayStation going the more 3D route, which in turn led to the Saturn having a very difficult architecture to program for. And one of the other main reasons is that under the hood, Sega put two main CPUs, which in 2017, dual processors are quite the norm in today's computer architecture. In 1995, this was a relatively brand new concept. Now, initially released in Japan in 1994, it was released stateside at E3 1995, and this was the Saturn's first mistake right off the bat. Now, the Saturn was originally supposed to launch in around September of 1995, and Sega decided to push the release forward a couple months in order to try and gain early leverage in the market over the incoming PlayStation. Now, business-wise, while people might think this is a brilliant move, many developers who had games set for the September release simply weren't ready for the early release, which led to early adopters of the system having near nothing to play at launch. In addition, this angered many high-name game developers such as EA and businesses who in turn refused to develop for the Saturn and in stores refused to stock them. Now, this is one of the main reasons as to why the Saturn performed so terribly here in the United States. However, the Saturn is no slouch of a system, with a bunch of games on the Saturn being considered the definitive versions as opposed to the PlayStation and other system counterparts. For fighting games, for example, the game could utilize a RAM expansion cartridge which would plug into the cartridge slot, which allowed for increased RAM and improved visuals and smoother playing. Certain games, while expensive also in the United States and Europe, can also be found very cheap in Japan. This is due to the system performing well in Japan. Now, with that being said, here are a few games to check out for the Saturn, and I'm probably going to review these all at another point, so I'm not going to give too much away here. First off is one of the most well-known games here of the Saturn, and that's Nights into Dreams, made by Sonic Team. And while Saturn didn't have a definitive Sonic game, we had Sonic R and Sonic Jam, I believe. Nights was that game for the system. It's a beautiful game where you play as Knights in what is essentially a flying 2D platformer, if that's the correct term. Nights is a gem in itself. There's really, it's hard to describe. It's one of the games you have to just go out and play, and it's definitely one of the most recommended games to play for the Saturn. Now, we have Panzer Dragoon 1 and 2. These are really fun on-rail shooters, and they have a great arcade feel to them. Now, there is a third game in the Panzer Dragoon series, which is Panzer Dragoon Saga, which takes all the elements of these games and makes it into an RPG. I don't have that game. This game is one of the holy grails of gaming at this point, and it costs an upward of $500 at the time of this recording. Now, the last game I'm going to show you right now is Clockwork Night. Now, this game is a 2.5D side-scrolling platformer where you play as, I think his name's like Papa Rocho, he's a toy knight, and throughout the game you explore a house you're confined to in stages reminiscent of other 2D platformers, kind of like Toy Story. And that is my Sega Saturn review. Definitely check the Saturn out. It's such an underrated video game console, and it's not bad at all. Just like every system, it does have its flaws in terms of games, but the games you can get for the Saturn, a lot of them are awesome. And, I mean, in recent time, due to the Saturn gaining more popularity now in 2017 than it ever had before, especially in America, the games are getting very pricey. So if you're going to start collecting for the Saturn, I would say get on it now. You can definitely have a lot of fun with the system, and it sucks that the system was discontinued in 1998. Had the time been allowed for companies to translate games and bring some of those Japan-only exclusives over, this system itself probably would have survived a little bit longer. You have such great RPGs in Japan, and just knowing that in the United States we only got a fraction of what was actually released, and a lot of hidden gems for the Saturn are Japanese-only exclusives. Now, that's my Sega Saturn review. Like the video, subscribe to the channel, leave a comment below, tell me what you think of the Sega Saturn, and until next time, have a great day.